I know I shouldn't be doing this while driving, but I want to try one more entry to close out this retreat diary. Because this is what's on my mind to cap all this off. Okay, I was just listening to can't remember, Igor. I was listening to Igor talking about, he was commenting on manifestation culture and like the new age, whatever. And he was saying like people have it wrong, because like it's a thing, but like it's not. People think like, oh, you visualize what you want, and you keep visualizing and visualizing. And he said that's kind of like like the dog looking at the food and just like panting after it every day. Like, oh, someday, maybe someday. He's like, no. What it is like you have to know. You have to already have it. You have to know that you're already that. It's got to be all the way deeply internalized in your heart. You know that you're going to be that or have that or do that or whatever it is you're trying to manifest. And that's a different thing. And when he said it, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I experienced in my youth. Because as a musician, before I ever got anywhere with it, before I, had any success or any life as a musician or anything like that, when I was 16, 17, 18, okay, I like all the way internalized that was my life and that was my destiny, and it was inevitable. It was like the inevitability of it, deeply internalized. And lo and behold, it started to happen. It was like just started blooming all around me. And then I got in it, and I was like, oh, there's aspects of it I hadn't thought of. Maybe I don't want this. Or there's parts of it that I wasn't clear about, so it didn't come off the right way. Anyways, that's another story. But the point is, with that time and that dream and that manifestation, I deeply internalized this assurance that it was going to happen. Because I had the evidence. How can I put this? I had the evidence that what I wanted to be and who I wanted to be in the dream of it was a thing that was actually possible in the world at that time. Because I looked to my heroes and I was like, oh, I can actually be Tom York. I could actually be in that world. Like, it exists. It's out there. There's actually a place for me to be that. There's a context in which I can be that. And even more specifically with Jump Little Children, it was like, that's even more, like, they were like real flesh and blood people. I was like, oh, I can be this. This is a thing you can be. I had the proof. I had the evidence. I could touch it with my own hands like Thomas, So there was no problem of like really believing it all the way in my heart and becoming deeply convinced that this is who I was and what my destiny was. Everything spoke to it, and I had this evidence right in front of my eyes. This is what I don't have now. Because now there is no, my idea of who I want to be or what I want to do or whatever is like, it's very vague. I want to be something that doesn't actually exist yet, is kind of like how I feel. Like I'm trying to invent something. And that's much more difficult, When I was young, it was more like imitative, I would just fake, just trying to be an amalgamation of all of these things that I was looking toward and being influenced by. You know, it was like, just imitate being some kind of confluence of Rufus Wainwright, Jeff Buckley, Tom York, Jay Clifford, Joseph Arthur, you name, like whatever I was into, you know, I just keep imbibing it and aspiring and keep imbibing and inspiring, and like slowly like that became me, you know. Now there's no context in the world that I'm like, oh, I belong there. And this has been the case for 15 years. Because I think about, well, what do I want to do? I want to be a musician. What do I want to do? Be like a successful touring musician in 2025? Like, you know, you name it. Name any successful touring. Like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. Okay, I'm intellectual. I could be an academic. I don't want anything to do with the world of academia. Oh, I could be one of these like Asheville guru people. I don't want anything to do with that world. You know, I think of all of these contexts, and the whole point of my existential crisis all these years has been like, there's nothing out there in the world that I even want to be a part of. So how do I dream up this future for myself to the level that I really believe all the way in my heart that I am that? Because I can't even visualize it. Like, I have no reference. It's just this kind of vague sense, and it has something to do with, you know, these various kind of influences that are all, it has something to do with Carl Sagan, but I don't want to be Carl Sagan. It has something to do with Terence McKenna. I don't want to be Terence McKenna. It has something to do with John Lennon. I don't want to be John Lennon. It's like, it's something there that's very not specific. I want to be Bob Marley, but I don't want to be Bob Marley. You know, it's like there's all this subtle sense, but none of it's like clear. It's like a dream, you know, I want to do this, I want to be this. And like Igor was saying in his other thing, which really hit me, is like, you've got to be really clear and honest, and most people aren't, about the situation we are in right now in 2025. It's like everything is liquid. Everything is like a vacuum. It's impossible to give your heart to some kind of currently existing project in the world, because all of it is just, everybody's scrambling. And I know this deep down. Like, I see people with all of their projects, and I know that this is all like, everybody's faking it. I know that this is all, it's not like, this is why I have a hankering for 1950s movies or whatever, because there's this deeper sense that like society had an idea about what it was doing, and it was on this mission, it had this purpose, you know. Same thing with the space program. That's why I'm so into that, because you just feel that like there's this overriding sense of mission and purpose about it. And my sense now is like, that does not exist. Everybody is drowning. And this is what he said it out loud in the thing last night, and it was only recorded a year ago, so like he's speaking to the moment. He's like, yeah, everything is dissolved. All the purpose and project has gone out of the society project, and it's global. Everybody is suffering in this. Everybody is drowning. It's not just you. Everybody is completely floating in free fall. Everything. And you've got to face it and be honest about it and really confront it, you know. And this is why you feel this way, that it's so hard to give your heart fully to anything going on in the world, because everything going on in the world is complete bullshit and completely like lost and just like gears spinning, and nobody can understand what's going on, you know. And like I said, the whole point is, I have known this and pointed it out. This is what Escape Velocity was about. And everybody knows this who talks about the meta crisis. But just pointing it out over and over again won't fix it. Like some kind of leap has to be taken forward into the future. It has to be understood and digested and then expressed and presented to people as a coherent energy or worldview or something, So that's the hang up. It's like, I know how manifestation works because I did it when I was young, but at the same time, it only works if it's that deep. It's got to be totally internalized and all, like, you see it clearly. You already have it, and I don't have that. I don't have that level, and it's why I'm in this floundering state, and I'm involved in different things, and I'm like, well, this isn't quite right, and this isn't quite right, and I'm dissatisfied, and I'm restless because I don't have a clear idea. I haven't made it. When I was young, it was imitative. I was imitating, and I came up with a kind of assimilation. But now that doesn't work. I know too much, and the world is too far gone into oblivion. It's like, no, it's an act of invention and creativity that must take place. And I don't know. I don't even know what else to say about it. I wish I did. That's what I'm trying to figure out. It's like an act of positivity, but like all of these pieces don't work on themselves. It's like, well, I'll just become totally positive, because there's not enough positivity in the world. Well, that's fine, but like that's not gonna do it. Well, I'll just become righteous. I'll just be really clean and good. And say, well, yeah, but there's plenty of people doing that, and they're still lost in the meaning crisis. Everybody is floating, including you and everybody else, and we're all suffering. But step one is to get really honest about that. And then really purposefully, consciously dream up the future. Not just what the future looks like, but who you look like, who I look like. What am I doing? Who am I? How does it work specifically? And then really internalize that and be it all the time.